My name is Karol Hunt. I've been here at Tabor for 29 years, and I chair the Health and Physical Education Department and teach a lot of classes there, and I'm also an Associate Athletic Director, so you will see me at a lot of athletic events.
I'm Tyler Funk. I'm from here in Hillsboro, and I'm an elementary ed major, and I'm a junior.
My name is Janie Cantu, and I'm from South Texas, and I'm a senior, and my major is elementary education.
Okay, our class is called Disaster Relief. I've done this several interterms, and so what we do, we meet in class for a week, learning about disasters and recovery, what the impact it has on individuals when they lose everything. And then we go out into the field for 2 weeks, and we help rebuild after disasters. Okay, we were in Arkansas. In 2014, there was a tornado that went through this area. We were in Valonia, which is north of Little Rock. You know, when you hear about a lot of tornadoes, they get a lot of press. Like the Moore tornado, where we were the last 2 years, they got a lot of press. This wasn't very much on the news. In fact, I didn't even know about it until Samaritan's Purse did a rebuild, opened up their rebuild. So if you haven't heard about it, you're okay. You're in good company. Okay, we work with Samaritan's Purse, which does a lot with disaster relief. If you've done an Operation Christmas Child Box, it's the same organization. So this was our team that we worked with for the week. There are a couple of guys in there from Wofford College. Wofford is in South Carolina, I believe, and they have a service requirement that all their students have to fulfill. So they were there for the same 2 weeks that we were there doing their service requirement. My friends, John and Chuck, I'll have another picture of them. And then the person on the left, far left, was Alan, and was our construction supervisor. He's a Samaritan's Purse employee. The rest are volunteers there. So, okay, there's my friends, John and Chuck. Chuck is on the right. John is on the left. They are from Michigan. I've met them on previous Samaritan's Purse trips, and we've gotten to be good friends. They like college students. They like to come and give during these 2 weeks. This is kind of their one of their mission experiences. They're experience builders, so they teach us stuff. They take us under their wing and teach and work with us.
All right, so this is my first experience doing any sort of like building or construction work. So it was pretty interesting for me. And then the first day, it rained there the week before, like 12 inches or so it's really wet and muddy. But these first two pictures at the first house, we were putting siding up, and that was a new experience for me, just trying to get it right, because you had to make sure it was straight across and all the same level and everything. So it was pretty complicated, but it was pretty fun to do. And then here I'm using a miter saw, and we did trim work at this house. So I'm cutting an angle onto that piece, and then so it'd fit into a corner easier, and then into the next piece, and then the next picture. And then with this, then I'm using a coping saw, and then cutting a edge out on there so it'll fit into the other piece I cut earlier. All right. And here's the final picture with those, where I'm just nailing it in. And had to be like flush with the board on the bottom and stuff. All right, and then this one, I'm not really a fan of heights, so not that ladder wasn't that tall, but some of the other ones I had to climb on were just kind of unstable, and it was an interesting experience. But I was putting up plywood there for the siding that would be going up.
So for me, this trip was a bit challenging for me because I've never done any construction work, so it was pretty interesting 2 weeks for me. Here in this picture, we're getting ready to put siding. So like Tyler said, it had been raining and it was really muddy, so it was really hard to kind of, keep our footing and stuff. And the following picture here, I'm carrying, I think, a 2x4, 2x6, and we're getting ready to build a safe room and just prepping to build the wall around that safe room.
And if you notice in the background, that's a storm shelter. Houses in this part of the country do not have basements, so they have storm shelters. And a lot of the people who we talked to, their houses were destroyed, but they were safe because they went into a storm shelter somewhere. And the houses that Samaritan's Purse is building, they're building a safe room, which is the bathroom. It's cement block and has all kinds of cement. It's fortified, 3 deadbolt locks on the door. I've tried to pick up one of the doors on the bathroom, and it's like you can't do it.
In this picture, John was helping me how to use a circular saw, which was pretty cool. I was very grateful that he was there because he was able to give us a lot of tips. Picture here, me and Carol and I we were working on a half wall, so this was pretty cool to do. Just getting ready to, put countertops on that half wall. And here I was using like a blow dryer, but kind of like on steroids. So this thing was pretty hot, and we're just kind of doing minor touches, paint minor touches, and following picture. Here, Tyler and I were working on cleaning up the grouting. We had just put the tile floor the previous day, so we were just grouting the floor and just cleaning up all the excess. And here I was helping my supervisor, Ellen, to put up some cabinets, and so just getting ready to drill those together and just make sure they were all leveled. And we got to visit a multicultural church, so it was called Mosaic Church. And this church was located, or so we thought it was located at a Kmart shopping center, an old Kmart shopping center, and we ended up waiting a couple minutes, and to our surprise, nobody showed up to the church. So finally we decided to go to a different church and try to make it on time. And as we were driving, we ended up finding this church. And it was pretty cool because it was their grand opening, and it was being dedicated, so it was pretty cool to be a part of that. And we also visited a historical landmark, Little Rock Central High School. And this school was, back in the 1950s, there was a lot of desegregation going on. So it goes that there was 9 students that were trying to integrate into this school. So this was a big deal in Arkansas. And just the architecture was really amazing. And here there was this little park that we visited. It was just like a mural that was dedicated for the school, and it was just pretty cool because there's several pictures of how like diversity, the diverse area. It's been more diverse since the 1950s, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and this next picture then, for the weekends we would go and visit a trip like Little Rock, and then this week, and we went to Heifer International, which is a worldwide organization. And what they do is they take money, you give money to them, and then they'll go to like countries that invite them in, and then they'll buy cows or anything else like goats that can make milk, and then give those to families there who need food so they can live on their own and start making their own living off the stuff they're given. And the building was pretty cool because it was like meant to be environmentally green. It was built probably like 10, 15 years ago, and it's built so that the sun heats it a lot of the time, and the roof has like a slant on it, so it collects rainwater and uses that to water like fields and just the grass and keep water for the building. So yeah.
Whenever I go on these trips, I always learn something new. I usually do something I've never done before. So I got to lay ceramic tile. It was a Thursday. Janie kind of helped me make sure I had all the spacers and stuff. But that was the first experience I'd had. There I'm laying the tile with the thin set. And then the next day, we've already seen some pictures of grouting. I did a little grouting. Janie did a lot more of it. So trips, I've been on a lot of these trips, and most of them go pretty smoothly. But every once in a while, you'll get a trip where there's lots of bumps along the road. And this was one of those trips. I went into it. Jim Paulus and I always tease each other. Oh, it's just another day. Just another ball game, just another stats class. So I was going into this, just another trip. Not that I was blowing it off. Don't get me wrong. I was not blowing it off, but, I've been there, done that. I know how these things work, okay? Well, this didn't end up that way for me. Earlier in the week, I tripped coming out of the tool trailer. There was a lip on the trailer that's designed to keep the water out. I didn't fall, but I caught myself on a saw stand, and I had a cut in my hand. And, you don't want to look like it's a big deal. So I didn't put a Band-Aid. It's on the middle of your hand, so you can't put a Band-Aid on it and stick. So if you put a Band-Aid on it, you got to put gauze around it or something. So then it makes it look like it's worse than it is. So I didn't do that. I just cleaned it up. And then I was doing the grouting. Let me back up one step. I showed you a picture of Alan. And Alan was a perfectionistic micromanager. And our attitude adjusters had to be in overload all week. Usually on these trips, there's certain jobs to do, and we get to kind of gravitate to which ones we want and who we want to work with. And Alan wasn't that way. He would tell us who was going to do what and who was going to work with who. So that was a little bit hard for us. So we had to, like I said, we had attitude readjustments on a regular basis. He's a great guy. Don't get me wrong. He's a great guy. And when you're working, half the job is figuring out how the other people work. So we finally figured out how we worked. But anyway, okay, I was doing the grouting, and I had to do it his way. He showed us how to do stuff, and we had to do it his way, even though we had done something before, or maybe you can kind of figure might be a little easier way to do it. Nope, we had to do it his way. Anyway, I was doing some grouting, and I got an abrasion on my thumb because he stressed, don't leave grout on the tile because you have to wipe it up. So anyway, with the cut I got and the abrasion I got, by Saturday night, I could tell I was getting an infection in my hand. So Sunday morning, we were down in Little Rock, so John's motel room was across the hall from mine, and I texted him. I waited till 6 o'clock and texted him and wanted to know if he was up because I said we need to go get this checked out. So I went to an emergency room, got some treatment, went back to base camp for Sunday night. They wouldn't let me go to work on Monday, which I wouldn't have been able to anyway. All I was doing was sleeping, and by noon, my hand was still worse. The swelling was worse. Pain was worse. So John took me to a walk-in clinic. They couldn't do anything for me, so they sent me to an orthopedic place that took walk-ins after 4 o'clock. They looked at it, sent me to the hospital in Conway, and got an IV. Went back to camp. Well, by Tuesday, it was out of control. So John takes me to Little Rock, to a trauma center in Little Rock, and I get admitted to the hospital to be on antibiotics and saline solution. And let me just give you a little tip: when you're on IVs, continuously on IVs, not Hy-Vee, that's the grocery store. IVs, you got to pee a lot. So anyway, I got dismissed from the hospital in time to come back with Tyler and Janie. I wasn't able to drive, so they were able to drive back. So this was a new experience for me. I had never spent a night in a hospital before. I had to depend on people to do stuff for me. Do you want to know what's really humiliating? 2 things are humiliating. One is having somebody tie your shoes for you. And Janie got good at tying my shoes for me. And the other thing is somebody doing your laundry for you. But those are humiliating for me. But, as I'm getting older, I'm an independent woman. I've lived alone for years. I've often kind of wondered if something did happen to me, what would happen? And I have learned through this experience that because I'm used to giving to everybody else. I'm not used to being on the receiving end. But I have learned that there are people who are there for me, particularly John and Chuck. Were there. I couldn't ask for better people too. Chuck stayed back at base camp and worked with Janie and Tyler, and John spent time with me at the hospital. He was a retired state trooper from the state of Michigan, and I mean, you can't have a better person to help you make healthcare decisions than a retired trooper. So it was some bumps along the road for us, but it was still a good trip. Okay, this class meets intercultural awareness experience. So if you need that, think about that for next year. Okay, I grew up in a fundamentalist Baptist preacher's home. In my mind, mission trips were you did Bible school, you had to sing, or you had to preach. That's what mission trips were all about. Or you went overseas and did something. Well, it took me to be an adult before I realized that God takes whatever skills you have. Tyler and Janie didn't have any building skills, but they had a willingness. And they had a willingness to learn and a willingness to let God use them. And we had, and my friends who came along who like to work with college kids, they see that as part of their mission. They could teach. So whatever skills you have and a willing heart, God's going to take, and He can use it. Okay? Like I said, my dad was a pastor. He either started churches or he went to small, struggling churches and built them up and went on to the next one. And everywhere we went, Dad either built a church or a parsonage. So I started out holding boards for my dad and doing stuff, and I worked my way up to, in one church, I got to help with the roof. So God had used what I learned in my childhood to help me now go and serve other people. So let me encourage you, my forte is not working with little kids. There's a reason why I'm on the college level. Those little whippersnappers, we're not on the same wavelength, okay? But whatever skills, whatever gifts, whatever abilities you have, God can take them and use them. And remember, life's not all about you. It's what we can take and what we can give to other people.